project again. Tonight I'm not going to try and get too much done. The main thing I want to do is get the front wheels off and on jack stands. Both of the rear wheels are actually holding air. They've been holding air for the last month, so I'm going to assume they're not going to stop now. And the rims aren't bent from what I can see, and tires are good, so I'm going to leave those on for now just because I only have 2 jack stands. I'll make a Harbor Freight run eventually once I get to Milwaukee, but right now I'm just going to sit tight with the 2. So I'm going to get it up on jack stands, and I'm going to possibly see about getting the front bumper off, but I would like to pull both the headlight units out, because there's something I'd like to mess around with on them, and if you look, they're getting pretty fogged up and nasty anyway. I want to see if I can get it in focus. There's a little crack in this one, a couple little cracks. In my opinion, not really worth getting a whole headlight unit unless if I can get one from the junkyard for really cheap. So I think that will just, I'll see if I can seal that off a little bit better, repair it. Bugs really like my car for whatever reason. I'm sure it's probably to do with the bright 500 watt I have aimed at it. But yeah, so I'm going to get started on getting the wheels off. Let's get it on my stand. I should make it a little bit taller too. Alright, so now that I gotta lift it up, which is a pain in the ass because it was already I lowered it a lot to start with. So when you have 2 front tires and a lowered car, it's really tricky to fit a jack under there. But I got it up on jack stands. I'm going to try and get them a little bit more straight, but that'll be fine for now. I'll do that tomorrow. So I've noticed when I was lifting it up that the wheel, that's going to be tough to see, that the wheel has actually, yeah, you can't really see that on the camera, has bent in so much from when I hit the curb that it's jammed against, I don't know what, in here. Yeah, just part of the wheel, whatever, mount bearing assembly, I forget what it's called, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So, assessing the damages that have been done under here. First off, bring the light a little bit closer. So, this is probably where I got that nice splash of coolant. This was my own stupid fault. And partially, again, because I have the car so low, when I was unloading the car, I messed up this front radiator, which I'm guessing that's what the leak was when I was driving off the trailer. I knocked that on it, and I couldn't, and it splashed, and it broke, so I'm assuming that's going to be my main problem with the cooling system. I'm probably going to redo most of the cooling system anyway, because it's pretty due for replacement at this point, but yeah, still not ultra excited about that. Obviously the cover for everything has ripped off of here when the bumper ripped off, so I have that to fix. This dangling thing here is appears to be part of the secondary air pump, which was broken anyway beforehand, so I don't really much care about that. I'm gonna get rid of the secondary air system anyway and put in a simulator for it. Just a little circuit board and with essentially some resistors, so it thinks it's there. And I'll do the same with the O2 sensors, so I can get rid of the O2 sensors and catalysts and not be throwing major error codes all over the place. It doesn't look like the suspension, it looks like I had less damage down here than I thought I was going to, which I'm actually pretty surprised and happy about. Something's leaking there. I'm not sure if you can tell on this line right here. It's covered with a layer of dirt and grease and crap, which usually isn't a good sign. Maybe a little bit of an oil pan leak or something. I'm planning on at least semi-rebuilding the motor anyway, so that's not a huge deal. The whole motor will probably get pulled out. I'm thinking about putting a 3-liter in here. That's going to be hard to tune, but there's people. I wouldn't be the first person to have swapped or to make a 530i wagon, so it can be done. Yeah, there's that radiator. I can definitely see the problem, so, there we go. That's my major leak. I might, if I can find the money from selling the interior, which, by the way, I'm selling almost the entire interior for now. I'm keeping the dashboard and the front seats and maybe the center console. Pretty much everything else is going to be for sale. Once I get it set up, I'm going to put a part out thread from Beamer Forums for this in the description. So if any of you need wagon interior parts, definitely hit me up for that. Message me or put it in the comments or something, and I'll figure out something. But I'm gonna try and sell what I can in order to make money for this build, which is already gonna be expensive. I don't have a full. I didn't realize this needed Torx, but I'm not gonna take the bumper off tonight because I don't have a full Torx set. So that'll be delayed a little bit longer. It was a side collision. I just want to check something out. Okay, so I don't see any bends in the frame at all, which is definitely a good thing. I won't really have to worry about straining that or anything. Overall, I'm pretty happy that the damage isn't, there's not really a terrible lot of damage to the car itself. So yeah, other than that, I think I'm pretty peachy. I'm going to take off the wheels tonight, and I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. and then I'll double check the suspension is all set. I got my cheap set of coilovers. They're the Jom Blue Lines. They only have about 2,000 miles on them, so I'm hoping they're okay for now, until I get something better. I see I have tie rod that came off there, so that needs to be done anyway. Not really sure what happened, but let's see if I can. Looks like that may almost have come off separately, probably because I didn't torque the bolts to spec. I just did it from what I thought was right, which is really not what you're supposed to do, obviously, but other than that, I'm not looking too bad so far. So yeah, let me just get the wheels off and then we'll call it a night. Alright, I got this wheel off, obviously. I don't know how the wheel bearings are, but I mean, it still spins, so not terrible. The calipers obviously get rusty just sitting there, but that doesn't really matter. Not calipers, rotors. And maybe they got quite a bit of life left in them, but it may be time for new ones anyway. Get bigger brakes on here altogether, just maybe the ones off of a 540i. A little bit bigger, not as big as the M5 ones, obviously, because those are very large, but yeah, so I'm gonna have to, I'm guessing it's just probably my eyes, but my coilovers almost look a hair bent. So I'll take a straight edge and make sure that's not the case. I'm gonna have to take this whole area apart at some point, probably, because I'd like to get most new suspension and steering parts. I think the other side, I wasn't able to get the wheel off on the other side because, like an idiot, I forgot to break the bolts before I lifted off the ground, so those are still stuck on there. So I'll probably drop that side again on the ground, or maybe on a brick or something, and do that tomorrow or the day after. But yeah, that's pretty much how it sits. The other side I think might be a little bit more damaged. This wheel was essentially straight, like the steering wheel was turned fairly straight, and the other wheel was turned a little bit, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have to replace most of that side anyway. Most of the steering components, because obviously that's not good. But I think that I'm going to call that it for tonight. Leave it as it is. And some of the paint from the Yukon that hit me. Whatever. Alright, good night.